today we're doing the Ashton VSG. We're going old school with this. And before we actually get into the breakdown of the cigar, Chris, how do we break these down?
Sure. Each cigar review is broken down into three main categories: construction, burn, and flavor. We then see if the cigar is worth the price for a possible bonus or deduction on that score. And then finally, we average out our individual reviews, scores, and recommendations, giving you guys kind of how we feel about it. Now, how do you feel about VSG? Like, what does VSG even mean? Have you thought about that yet?
Yes.
Like, what does VSG mean? Like, what's the acronym? What do you think the acronym for VSG is?
I don't know, but anytime I see V, I just think vaginal.
I do too.
Vaginal psoriasis, gonorrhea.
Ooh, some sort of STD.
It's a skin condition. It's a vaginal skin condition.
Yeah.
It's a bacteria thing, from what I've been told.
Maybe vaginal soft goiter. Or
vagina is so good.
Oh. I like it.
How about I don't even know. For whatever reason, vagina squishy golf ball came into my head. I have no idea why.
I like that one.
That doesn't even flow together. It doesn't even make sense. I don't know why I thought of that. I'm just like, hurry up, come up with something with G. I don't know beyond that. I'm sure we can come up to acronyms are great because you can just start to think all kinds of stuff. And maybe throughout the episode, we'll think of more and we'll just throw them out there.
That's true. We will, for sure.
This cigar came out in 2009. Sober. How many years old is that? 12 years old. This is an older cigar in the marketplace, although it doesn't really feel like 2009 was that long ago. Ecuadorian wrapper, Dominican binder. Ecuadorian wrapper, Dominican binder, Dominican filler. We smoked this in a Robusto 5.5 by 50. Comes in at an $11 price point. I would argue the VSG, in terms of the pricing, is probably more on the lower end in terms of Ashton's, but still $11 for Robusto. So it is, when Chris and I talk about average price points, I would say this one, if you were just to think about the size alone, would be at the upper end of that. It would be on the other end of the spectrum in terms of price instead of the lower end of the spectrum. So I would say pretty close to like, hey, $11 for Robusto, that's expensive. So, but it is the Ashton brand name. And let's see how this one performs. Chris, what did you think about the construction of this cigar?
Construction's great, honestly. Dark brown wrapper, had some interesting black speckling to it, real thick veins, mildly gritty. It's a good looking cigar. It's got that old school brand vibe to it with those Ashton florally type of antiquity style labels. But it was a pretty firm cigar. I thought the cap structure was pretty on point. Overall, just a good construction. I didn't notice any glaring things or issues with it.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing in appearance. Very dark and oily, very rigid. I agree. Has some of those thick dong veiners running through it. I mean, it was solid, built like a shit brick house or brick shit house. I'm not really sure how that saying goes, but I would say, like, when you think about what you pay for a cigar, there is a quality perspective that comes into play, right? You always think about the flavors, what does it impart? But you also want to make sure the quality of the material and the production overall also match that price point. And I would say in this case, off to a really good start. What did you think about the burn?
I thought the burn honestly was equally about as good as the construction. It kind of produced some flaky ash. It was a 2-3 puffer with a decent amount of resistance on the draw. I had zero outages, zero. I thought the burn was moderately even. A couple touch-ups here and there. But, with the ring gauge being 50, right?
Yep.
What's the ring gauge, 50?
5.5 by 50.
Yep. Yeah, you really don't get too many issues with this. So I thought the burn was pretty solid. Nothing to know outside of that. It was good. It was good, bro. It was good.
Yeah, mine had a tight draw, which is exceptionally annoying in the cigar
Oh,
because it was
oh
one
wow.
that never really loosened up. But despite that, good smoke production. So that's always a nice balance to when you have a tight draw. It's one thing to kind of suck in on a fucking draw and have your lungs almost explode and get
Mm,
nothing out of it. But at least in this instance, I think the burn was good enough to where it was still releasing a lot of smoke, which made it kind of nice, even though it was kind of like,
yeah.
and you know me being an asthmatic and these weak lungs, I don't do well with tight draws. But yeah, decent smoke production overall, nice even burn, which I liked, but I did have an outage just a little more than halfway through, which is of course annoying on $11 cigar. So not the perfect burn, but I like the consistency on the burn line. I guess that's a positive I can talk about this cigar.
Yeah, I think probably in your regard, the vaginal soft goiter was really restricting airflow, passing through the vaginal wall, preventing you from getting a good suck.
Yeah, let's go with that. I literally just blew bourbon in my glass and it just splashed out in my face. So my eyes are burning a little bit. Yeah. So what did you think about the flavors overall? How was the
I'm
vaginal squishy goiter? What did you
pretty much.
it tastes good?
um, so right off the bat, you're kind of hit with some spice. You kind of get a bitter woodiness. It's got a lot of earthy tones to it. But occasionally you'll get these hits of like sweetness too, especially if you're taking a real soft draw on it. I noticed the creaminess coming out a little bit more. Overall, like once you get past the first 10% of it, it stays about the same. I don't really know any huge change ups in the flavor. It seemed to be very consistent with the flavor. But I found myself being overwhelmed at points with the bitter and spiciness, and I was kind of looking for a little bit more. But overall, I thought the blend was okay.
Yeah.
Um, but it was very consistent. So I don't know if you like bitter, strong bitters and that consistent medium spice, um, it'd probably be your jam. But I was looking for a little bit more out of it,
Mm,
like just even subtle change ups in flavors. But it was very consistent, the
yeah.
flavor. Um, but I don't know. It was decent. I'll say it was decent in
Sure.
flavor.
Yeah, I think that bitter component is almost like that sharp cocoa. Like that's what I get. Like when I taste bitter, especially in this cigar, that's what I get. It's like have you ever like cocoa's great, right? Cocoa powder's great when you mix sugar with it because that gives you that nice chocolate component. But cocoa on itself is very bitter, and I think that's a lot what I had in that. But it is very much heavy in the pepper rush. It does have provides a little bit of creaminess, very earthy, very woody, all those combinations of flavor. I agree with you. It's fairly static all the way through, and those flavors seem to be working independent of one another and doesn't really offer to me too much complexity. So I was a little challenged by the flavors overall because I liked portions of them and I liked some of the independence that they bring in terms of like I could really taste that cocoa, I could really taste the wood, I could really taste the earth, but they didn't mesh well together. It was just like they were all working independently of one another, which is something that I don't like in any cigar in particular. I like to see the combinations of those flavors really bring something from a component perspective a little bit different. So I was
Hmm.
challenged by that a little bit. Chris, what did you think about the price point overall? $11 cigar for a 5.5 by 50 in this Ashton beer.
It's a little steep, man. It's a little steep. I feel like it's a $9 cigar. I know it's Ashton. I know it's been around a while. I get it. It's a vaginal softy goiter that you're getting, but it's just a little bit too high. It's just a little bit too high.
Okay.
There's
She's
so
so
there's
high.
there's so many cigars at that price point that even at a Robusto, like even or you, you can get some serious bangers, man. You can get some serious good stuff for $11 even at
$11.
that
Oh my
at
God.
that size.
Oh gosh. Oh
And
wow.
I don't think it quite competes with other cigars at that price and that size. And so
Interesting.
I feel like I think it's a little bit high. So I gave it a minus.
I think it's appropriate, but barely. And when I say barely, I mean barely. I mean barely appropriate because again, I think it lacks complexity, but I do like the independent flavors. I
Mm.
really, I was like, there was a certain thing that I got, I really enjoyed it. And also, I can't get over just how well the cigar was made overall. Now, this is why I really say barely, is that two substantial burn issues, right? One on the draw, and then of course one outage that causes a relight, which is less severe than what I would consider, because you think about like a tight draw, that's a production issue, right? That's a quality control issue. That puts me really at that barely, but I still said it was worth the price. So
generous, very generous today.
Yeah. That being said, let's break down the scores of each category. Chris, what'd you give it on construction?
10 out of 10 on construction. It's a beautifully made cigar visually, and it looks great. Don't really care for wrapper, but that's old school Ashton. Just take it as it is. 20 out of 20 on burn. I thought my burn was really great. There was nothing really of issue outside of some small touch-ups, which I rarely will give negatives for it, because sometimes cigars just need a little bit of love, just a little bit around the rim, a little bit of the rim. But if I got to touch up like 3/4 of it, that's when you get negative points. But I didn't have that. 20 out of 20 on burn. 24.5 out of 30 on flavors. I wanted to give it a 25, but I found myself just going, nope, I'm going to take a half a point away from you. So, it's got some interesting flavors, but it doesn't change up a whole lot in the 5 inches you get.
Right.
And if it's not quite your exact profile you're going for, you're going to find yourself being a little bit bored towards the latter part of the cigar, looking for some little bit changes, which you don't really get, I don't think.
Yeah.
And negative on the price, -1%. I'm sorry. It's just a little bit too pricey for what it is. Sorry, Ashton.
Yeah. Sorry, Ashton.
So mine comes out at an 89.8%, which is a decent smoke to try.
Damn. Well, we round that up to a 90, actually. So we'd put yours at a highly recommended. We got to do that roundup. We can't just have all these fucking half decimals and half fractions. Doesn't make. What's a half fraction? I don't even know if that's a thing. Half of a fraction?
Half of a fraction is 1/4.
If it's a half, it would be a fourth. And if it's half of a fourth, it'd be an eighth.
Yeah.
Half of an eighth, it would be a 16th.
Yep.
Half of a 16th would be a 32nd. Half of a 32nd would be a 64th. I could go on forever.
Yeah.
So round yours up to a 90. Not a bad score given what you said about the flavors. I am interested in where mine's going to land in comparison to yours. Construction, 10 out of 10, damn near flawless. Ooh, little bit of challenges with the burn and the draw. I give it an 18.5 out of a 20. I liked the flavors, but I didn't like how they didn't mesh well together. It didn't offer up that complexity that I was looking for, especially an $11 cigar. It's weird because you get that huge pepper rush up front, like it hits you in the face, but it kind of sets the tone, I think, for what I was hoping would be really good, like bold, rich flavors afterward. I really like the cocoa bitterness. That's one that I actually truly enjoy, but I thought it was fairly unbalanced overall. But pretty good cigar, all things considered. Again, my gripe being mostly in the burn. I kind of give it some kudos for being the most affordable Ashton in the lineup, because I imagine like you're spending $20 for an Ashton. I'd be like, oh, could you imagine paying that for this VSG and then having this review? I'd be like, fuck.
Yeah.
Definitely not worth it. But I did think it was appropriately, but again, barely. I gave it a total score of an 89.2, which will round down to an 89. That will give us an average score of an 89.5, which would be a decent smoke to try.
A decent smoke, Ashton's, like that football player that's a little past his prime, that he's still a pro, but he's usually on the bench. He doesn't really get a whole lot of play time.
Right.
Unless the team's way up on points, that whole underdog card story.
Does this make you, like, doing this review and smoking this Ashton, does it make you want to smoke more Ashtons, or is it going to be kind of like, hey, this has been 10 years since I've smoked one, and that's the interval I'm just going to continue with?
I want to pick. It does interest me. I want to smoke an Ashton that is like the creme de la creme. Who's the MVP? If you're Ashton and you've got a lineup, who's your MVP on the team? That's the one I want to try. The Ashton
Symmetry I thought was really good. That was
the Symmetry we smoked a shit ton of back.
That was a while ago, and I loved that Symmetry. Oof, what a good cigar!
But it does pique my curiosity to say,
Me too,
hey,
kind of, honestly. It's kind of like, hey, let's give Ashton
yeah,
let's give him more chances, even though they never come out with anything fucking new.
being
Let's give
very
him a chance.
topical. He's like that old boxer that was past his prime. He works at a fucking boat dock or on some fishing ship.
Yeah,
And like
for
he
sure.
practices boxing in his free time, but it's difficult with a wife and family he's got to provide for. And, they don't got a whole lot of money, but that old coach still sees a little love and passion and fire in his spirit and his eyes and goes, hey, have you ever thought about getting back into boxing? And Ashton goes, I don't know, man. It's been a long time since I've done that. He's like, well, I think it could be a real contender, Ashton. I don't know, man. I got a family to provide for. It's just like bills are tight. Well, what if I told you first fight you'll make $500? And Ashton goes, well, that's more than I make in an entire weekend on the boats. And I'm up 24/7 catching krill and all sorts of shit. And like, it sucks. It's a smelly, nasty job. He's like, well, $500 your first fight. We'll get you out there. We'll see how you do. And if you love it, you fall in love with it again, maybe we'll be some more fights for you. We're that coach. Do you see the analogy I'm painting? Hot Ticket is that coach trying to inspire Ashton to get back in the game, get back in the
I'm
fight.
still perplexed in the fact that you said he was fishing for krill. You couldn't pick a better fish. All right. Let's end the review portion of this. Not a bad score for an Ashton. It's been a while since we smoked one. Maybe we'll start interlacing more. I mean, there's only like 6 to choose from, so we'll probably do one every fucking year.
Yeah, that's true.
So we don't blow all the Ashtons
Lore
out in
wad.
1 year. All right, let's wrap this up. Check out our show sponsor, My Cigar Pack. www.mycigarpack.com. Nephew's running around naked. That's pretty. I have to blur something out there.
No,
This dick out.
no, I don't think so.
That's good. You got to be careful of that content.
Yeah,
We are supposed to be a kid-friendly show.
that's true.
I don't know what he's doing. He's doing yoga back there. Check out our show sponsor, www.mycigarpack.com. I am waiting for the April pack. I have not got it yet. I don't even know if it's shipped yet. Typically, Alex is throwing a few goodies for me. So a lot of times he just kind of like hangs tight on them for a little bit. But the the May pack is coming. I will let everybody know what comes in that pack when I get a chance to open it up. But nonetheless, if you want to get your hands on it, you can visit them at www.mycigarpack.com. Not sure if our promo code is active yet, but if it is, you can try it. It's HOT10 at checkout for $10 off your first pack. And don't forget Factory Direct. I think Chris said it best on the last podcast. A lot of these manufacturers are experimenting with different stuff. So they're participating in these kind of factory direct products and really kind of focusing on some, crazy off the wall blends sometimes, things that they just want to kind of experiment and put out there, just kind of wild, crazy stuff. We did that with Donger's Knockout and it was a really huge hit. So check out the factory direct program as well. I will say not better cigars for the money.
Yeah, I agree.
Also check out our website, www.hotticketweekly.com. Did a review this week, posted it today. It is the Blackbird Cigar Co. Finch, and it's going to be, I'm not sure which, it's going to be over here. Last time it was inverted, but you'll see it right there. So you can check that out at www.hotticketweekly.com with all our other reviews, news, and more. And please subscribe on YouTube. We did a giveaway a few weeks ago, the Hiram and Solomon packs. We had tons of entries, and part of that was subscribe to YouTube because we really want you guys to enjoy what we put out on the video content stuff. And we got a shit ton of subscribers. We almost doubled, which is fucking wild. So check out all of our content on YouTube as well. We've got all the reviews posted on there for you guys to enjoy. And certainly, leave us some feedback. I'm going to do the whole Logan Paul thing. If you could subscribe, comment, that'd be awesome. I'm going to do some giveaways. We got 5 PS5s that we're going to be handing out at random.
Hang around for the whole video because somewhere at the end, we're going to tell you guys about how you can win a PS5.
I'm surprised people don't they just skip? Don't they just skip to the end?
Probably.
Yeah, gimmicky. We're not giving you shit.
Or you say,
don't.
Or tricky. Or you go like, make sure to watch the whole video because somewhere in this video, we're going to give you our secret code that you need to enter into this giveaway.
Yeah, that's shady as shit. Shady ass motherfucker. All right, let's conclude this. Chris, this concludes episode 196. We're fastly approaching episode 200, which we have a special guest, actually a special two guests for episode 200 already lined up, coming to you in a month from now. So hang tight for that. But this will conclude episode 196. We'll be back at you next week with episode 197. See you, everyone.